Trigger warning, discussion of essay. At the end of the video, we're going to be donating some money, so stick around if that's something you're interested in. I was younger when I used to listen to Marilyn Manson a lot. I felt alienated and angry, and a lot of his music spoke to me in a particular way that really appeals to the angst in a teenager. Interviews, podcast appearances, live performances, I drank it all in and found community with some other people who also loved the music. Even just the aesthetic made me feel less alone. The dark costumes, the abrasive noise, the unforgiving attitude. It was all very edgy. Later I became enlightened and awesome, and I like Nine Inch Nails now, but that's besides the point. Manson's music gave me so much. And as an artist, I know how impossible it is to make a living doing this, so even though on some level, at 13 years old, I knew Manson couldn't possibly be a starving artist, I still wanted to buy an album. My mom doesn't like his music very much and told me no, so instead I streamed it all the time and hoped that maybe that would help. I would tell other people about how much the band moved me, how inspired I was by the I don't give a fuck attitude of the Antichrist superstar, and generally was very annoying about my interests, much like I am today. Anyways, Brian Warner, the musician known as Marilyn Manson, currently has a total of 16 people making various abuse allegations towards him, including 5 allegations of sexual assault. His legal team's response is to say that all these women, every single one of them, many of whom had not met each other, are all just making stuff up. 16 fucking people! This video has nothing to do with Brian Warner, but everything to do with influence and power dynamics. I felt greatly moved by D'Angelo Wallace's call to action from the wider commentary community, and even though I'm pretty sure he wasn't referring to a channel like mine when he said that smaller channels have been unable to break through the noise, I still think that I have something to say. Lots of different types of people watch this channel, but I know that 50% of you guys are teenagers, and I want to make this partly for myself and partly for you. Think of it as a public service announcement. When I was like 15 years old, I discovered Curtis Connor, which was my gateway into commentary YouTube as a whole bunch of creators who have been inspiring me to start making similar videos that you've been seeing on my channel recently. But I always found myself coming back to this guy, Drew Gooden, as likely my favorite in this whole scene. One day, I heard a parody song that he made, one with a lighthearted little bit where he tells you that he and fellow creator Denny Gonzalez may look similar, but are actually not the same person. Ha 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 ha, classic comedy. In that song, they say they've been copying Cody Ko's videos their whole careers. And as I dug deeper, I started to realize that a lot of commentary YouTube over the last decade has been drawing inspiration from this guy. So I started watching his old content. I watched it for a few years, and I don't watch anymore. I mean, to be fair, I stopped watching quite a while ago because it's just not funny anymore, but that's besides the point. I apologize. I probably shouldn't be being sarcastic right now. I think it's a coping mechanism. Cody Ko has been accused of statutory rape for years now, and seems to have not only been covering it up, but actively trying to silence the victim. This video is my attempt to go over some things that D'Angelo Wallace covered in his video directly calling out this guy, but also to go a lot more in depth on a lot of factors and how this situation ties into a bunch of other conversations that have been happening recently that are very, very important to me personally. Cody Ko is a commentary YouTuber who is like if you mixed a frat bro with a self-described nice guy. He has many videos making fun of people being weird or misogynistic towards women.
Yeah, that's kind of unhealthy.
Oh, it hurts. It hurts. I'm getting full body chills right now, and not the good kind. Like, he never claimed to be good at picking up women.
I saw you getting some stuff from the freezer aisle. I wish I could have you in my freezer. Shouldn't eat those nuggets, fatty. Oh God, I'm sorry.
You can tell that every single girl just immediately feels like a hostage.
Something Wallace mentions in his video is how performative basic feminism is often a very easy way to infiltrate and manipulate a community's goodwill and manipulate the people within said community. It's kind of telling that no bigger channel aside from Wallace has covered this, when lots of them are the types of channels that cover rumors all the time. Let's go over the alleged behavior, which was outlined by Rolling Stone magazine. Tana Mojo alleges Cody was in an inappropriate sexual relationship with her when she was underage and he was 25. There is a lot of nuance that we're going to talk about today, but ultimately, that's it. That's the information that you, I, anyone else who's interested should need to come to the conclusion that if it's accurate information, a crime was committed. But for the sake of debunking some apparently commonly held beliefs within certain parts of Cody's fan base, we're going to go a lot further. The incident would have occurred 8 years ago now. The encounter described was statutory rape at a hotel after an old YouTube event called Playlist Live, where Cody was aware of the age difference and apparently just didn't give a fuck. Tana was a fan and a teenager under the age of consent, and Cody took advantage of her. He had her feature in some videos of his around this time as well, which I find very interesting. In fact, during one of these collabs, Cody refers to her as a kid.
Teach me some slang. Teach me some teen slang.
Okay, well, I was gonna like write it
Alright, so
down.
I'm way too old to be on YouTube, obviously. Slang and cool words because she's, a teen, whatever. So I'm here basically just to learn some teen slang, right? So do you want to...
Yeah, I'd love to. No, seriously, I'm just like your biggest fan. Like, this is such an honor. Like, oh my god.
So it's clear that he understood there was a significant gap in their age and maturity level.
How to laugh like a total fucking creep.
I hate this. I hate this so much. I'm cringing to the point that I'm getting this feeling in my stomach.
Tana is an adult now who is a popular and controversial influencer herself, and her actual story is very, very interesting to me.
It was a crime. I hooked up with Cody Ko when I was 17 and he was 25. To be 100% truthful, when I look back at the Cody situation, I definitely am like, why was he doing that?
She goes on to discuss Playlist Live and says that influencer Gabby Hanna informed Cody that Tana was underage, and he even thanked her for letting him know. But then he took her back to his hotel room and hooked up with her anyway.
You know what I mean? And there were so many situations. There was a situation with Gabby Hanna at a Playlist Live where she pulled him aside and told him like, yo, she's 17. And then we still went and hooked up.
So she recognizes what happened was wrong, but here is where it gets more just gut-wrenching.
Why the fuck were you doing that? But there isn't a part of me, at least at 25 now. I mean, I look back and I would never do anything like that. So I'm like, what the fuck was wrong with you?
Yeah.
But I don't associate or hold it with trauma because I am such a comparative person where I'm like, so many worse things have happened to me. And that's bad.
I was
And
just about to say, you can't do that to yourself though.
Like, but I genuinely feel that way. Like it feels like all of the other people I hooked up with when I was 18, whether they were 30 or whether they were not 30 and they were my age and they were whatever, like I was just in a place of life, especially the circles and world I was surrounded in Vegas and then coming to LA. Like those are, if you're in the wrong realms, those can be very sexual places.
She explains how she was a fan, a huge fan who was excited to be spending time with him. Taken out of context, this is the beginning of an idea that I've seen form in some parts of Cody's community. This insidious and deeply exposing train of thought that it doesn't matter because she doesn't associate it with trauma. Just taking this at face value, I promise you it matters. There is no reason a 25-year-old man in a position of power with a fan superstar dynamic over a minor teenage girl would hook up with her. That is called a predator, no matter how you look at it. And in the state of California, the age of consent is 18. There are people arguing in very bad faith right now about how it's different because she's a teenager and that's close enough. The entire reason we have laws around this stuff is because legally, a child cannot consent to any of those activities with an adult. And people arguing otherwise are making me lose my fucking mind. There are fans of Cody who are trying to justify his actions by saying, well, she wanted to. In these situations, the responsibility is on the adult. And it's interesting because in my experience, lots of predators will try to manipulate the kid by shifting that responsibility onto them, by gently pressuring them but framing it in a "we don't have to do this if you don't want to" kind of way. You wouldn't want to disappoint your idol, would you? But no amount of blame shifting can change the fact that in these cases, an adult took advantage of a child. But you know what really grinds my gears? The fact that Tana didn't say it meant nothing at all, but in fact specified that even though she doesn't register it as traumatic, her body reacted as though it was traumatized regardless. In addition, she says that she would kill if this were to happen to a sister or a daughter. Even beginning to imply that those statements support a narrative of the child was consenting is moronic and obviously in bad faith. Now, these are allegations which are frankly nearly impossible to prove, but as D'Angelo Wallace uncovered, there is video footage of Gabby Hanna saying at Playlist Live something eerily similar happened.
One time, I told a guy, I saw him making out with a girl at a party who was underage, and I pulled him aside and I was like, "Hey man, you probably don't know, I know she like looks a little older, she's underage, watch it." And he's like, "Oh my God, thank you for telling me." And then he turned that.
She said this years before these allegations came to light, and Tana's named witness is her. So when it comes to things that are hard to prove, this is where it gets a little easier to wonder, if you don't believe victims already. I'm glad people like this out themselves in this way. It makes them very easy to identify as worthless pieces of shit. So let's imagine for a moment that Tana was wrong or misremembering or misrepresenting events, which she's not, but let's imagine that for a minute. She's been saying this for years. Only when it started getting traction online did Cody do anything about it, and his response was to message her privately to be like, "Are we good?"
Like, there was a while ago where I think I said something about it online and it was starting to surface, and he texted me like, "Are we good?
Aren't we still buddy chums like sardines in a packet?"
I said, "Yeah."
"Don't you know that my wedding is soon? You wouldn't want to hurt me right when I'm about to get married, would you?"
And like, he was like, "My wedding's coming up," like yada, yada, yada. And I was like,
Fuck.
And then now it's like all these Reddit threads, like if my name's on any thread, it's all getting deleted. Like, I know it's just a weird fucking fucked up situation.
In a world where Cody cares about victims, his relationship to his fans, his family, his friends, his wife, you'd assume he would issue some sort of statement to at least discourage his fan base from harassing Tana, because that's what they're currently doing. Let's examine what Cody chose to do instead. I'm sure whatever it is, it's very appropriate. Comments under his recent videos have been getting deleted if they have anything to do with the situation, and there were hundreds of comments at one point. The moderators on his Reddit page are censoring any discussion around the issues, saying it's stirring up drama. When this first started getting a bit of traction quite a while ago, he immediately, right at the same time, rebranded to wholesome, soon-to-be husband and dad, even making an announcement at the same time, which, if we're gonna give him benefit of the doubt, maybe that's just a coincidence. His active hiding and deleting of comments and just general censorship, though, is intentional. I wonder what his wife thinks, or his son, who will one day be able to see all of this. Can't lose that $7 million Reese Witherspoon mansion, though, am I right? I wonder if he knew this was going to happen soon. It might explain the influx of almost daily uploads on his channel. Might be trying to get as much sponsorship money as possible before they drop him. When there was a threat to him, his response was to try and silence the victim. And when she wouldn't be quiet like he wanted, he's choosing to ignore it and censor discussion. He wouldn't be living the lavish lifestyle that he does now if it wasn't in part for the many, many women who watched him. This kind of feels like a slap in the face to abuse survivors to not only be silent, but also to choose not to censor these voices. Hope he enjoys the new fan base he's cultivating for himself through his cowardice. In fact, I'm sure he will enjoy the new fan base because apparently he's been willfully surrounding himself with similarly minded people for decades now. People who could be enabling all of this sweeping under the rug that we've been doing. Colby Leachman, a fitting name for this cancerous tumor, is one of Cody's friends and someone that he's had on the channel for years. At least up until it was discovered that when they were in school, Leachman made secret sex tapes, lied to the police about them, showed them to other people, and the lady in the video alleged that Leachman drugged drugged her beforehand, which, would make the whole thing rape. And as Wallace pointed out, really, if you're watching this, you should go watch Wallace's video first if you haven't already. I'm late to this, and I'm making it because I felt like I have something to say as someone who's been a victim of similar situations, and there was a lot more that I wanted to add to the already well-written and researched and succinctly put video that came way before mine. As Wallace points out, you must have realized that he's a bad person to platform and took him out of your videos. He's not in your videos anymore, but he was at your wedding, and it kind of seems like you guys are still friends. If you're a dude watching this video, listen to me. Please. A lot of guys are more likely to be brash or callous about being fucking weirdos and confide that side of themselves to you if you're their friend. And you can't just brush it off if you're aware of it. The company you keep can define you as a person and influence you, and if you care about the women in your life, why would you want to downplay it? In my opinion, you have a responsibility to call that shit out. If you can help them understand why saying that stuff is weird or why their actions are unacceptable, you might be able to make the world a better place. As you likely know, a lot of it is taught young and enforced your whole life. Break them out of it. And if you can't, I strongly urge you to take action so that no one gets hurt. It's not a joke, it is a big deal, and your vigilance will be the reason that one day women maybe won't choose to be in the woods with an angry bear instead of with a random guy. Don't be the reason an abuser still has good friends despite being a piece of shit. Furthermore, it's very interesting that dozens of feminist guys with big followings who have worked with Cody over the years and who discuss serious topics like this all the time are staying fully silent on this. A few people responded to this whole thing on Twitter, not in any video or anything, just on separate social media, which reminds me of how Cody himself responded when people called him out years ago for saying the N-word and making racist and sexist comments, and he responded on Patreon. Kind of felt like damage control. And why would someone need damage control if they were innocent?
The public's reaction to this has made me feel 10 different types of ways that I didn't feel before. Like, I have seen so many comments of people like on some like, but what was she wearing shit? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
On some like, well, it's Tana Mojo. And isn't that crazy?
It's so
like,
fucked up.
Because I really like, you know how I feel towards it, but now seeing all of these people like not believe me and say, well, what if she's lying or she's this and she's that and she's dramatic? First of all, there's nothing, I would never lie about that. Like, I'm not going to put an allegation on anyone, like, ever like that, obviously. But then I just like, I feel so bad for all of these young girls because then they see that and then it makes them not want to come forward. And then I am like, wow, fuck everyone.
His lack of response and recent increase in upload schedule might indicate that he's trying to milk this as hard as he can before it stops being viable for him. Or him ignoring everything might just mean that he thinks this will all blow over in a few weeks as people move on to the next thing.
I know for a fact if you swapped out Cody Ko with someone that like people didn't like that much, I would be receiving so much more sympathy versus like the amount of people in this industry who like want to protect him and are like talking to me in a way where it's like they, you know what I mean? Like, or even just friends like, but I love him. Like, you know what I mean?
Some people are also asking what would even change if he responded in the negative or the positive. And I think that line of questioning is just willfully ignorant. His response could stop the harassment Tana is currently facing. His response could help add context or tell us something we don't know. And ultimately, his response would be the objectively right thing to do in this situation. This is conjecture, but it's likely he spoke with a PR manager or lawyer to figure out the best course of action and was advised to remain silent so as not to implicate himself. Similar to how that dude I mentioned earlier, Marilyn Manson, was advised by his lawyers. That silence speaks very loudly. It's all being viewed through a lens of liability and profitability, which is at best very cynical and dismissive of truth. Now, more importantly, let's talk about the victim, Tana. Over the years, she's been the subject of controversy, and some people don't like her very much, but that shouldn't matter. Cody's fans and others are dismissing her for not being the perfect victim. And when people do that, it starts to get very telling how little they actually understand about sexual assault and how it affects people. It doesn't matter who it was or if they've done bad things or are a messy person. None of that changes getting assaulted as a minor, you know? There are these fucking people who are trying to victim blame and harass and shift responsibility onto the kid. It's like we're getting out a billboard and writing, hey, abusers, all you gotta do to discredit your victims is highlight their flaws. The whole narrative of a flawless victim is an impossible standard to live up to. And a weird hill to die on, man. We need to care about the truth, and people are quick to point out Tana's flaws, but apparently fail to recognize Cody Ko and company have done a bunch of weird shit too. She's been talking about this for years, her story has never changed, and there was a witness who seems to be giving a similar story. Cody should say something. Now that he deletes comments so you can't discuss this, people are flocking to his wife's channel and leaving comments there, which kind of looks like he's letting his wife accept harassment on his behalf, the fucking piece of shit. The word of multiple people against a response of censorship that reeks of desperation and backpedaling certainly seems to indicate something. But what could it be? But here's my main point. If you are a child, I implore you, don't trust influencer people. Be extremely careful and don't idolize people. You have no idea what they're capable of. You don't know jack shit about them. They're not gods, they're not all that special, and you don't need to feel so much pressure to impress them or look up to them. I think this situation is part of the conversation around two big issues that are prevalent right now. The first is internet safety and knowing how to protect yourself. And the second is how our culture is changing. From the top of Hollywood to the bottom-feeding social media posters, accountability is the new normal. I love how much easier it is to feel empowered as a victim now. It's getting harder and harder to sweep this type of stuff under the rug or have these open secrets. People in general are waking the fuck up and getting informed. Look at the Dr. Disrespect thing. Twitch knew for a long time, and they did what was profitable and easy and kept it hidden. It took a former employee whistleblower to finally blow the lid off that whole thing. And look at the response to that. Look at the stuff that's been happening with Drake recently. We're telling people that this predator shit and people in positions of power taking advantage of those who are vulnerable is not okay. It never was, and they can't get away with it now. I really hope that Tana is okay after all of this. It's a strange situation because she explicitly said that she doesn't feel particularly traumatized by the incident. She's realizing years later that it's a crime.
Like, we were filming crazy YouTube videos at the time as well, and it's not like like at the time people were just like shipping us. Like, it wasn't just him. You know what I mean? And there's other people where I was like 17 for sure. Further than that, it's like there were so many people when I was 18, 19, and 20.
Yep.
That came flocking, you know what I mean? And now I see those same people doing it to other people who are 18, 19, and 20.
It's so gross.
And there is a part of me that's like, it's not just him, it's the whole fucking industry. I feel sad that it is all just kind of on just him when like the problem was so much greater than that. And like there are just some real fucking groomers and awful people walking the streets.
I don't really know how to end this. So in conclusion, my friends, stop putting people on such a high pedestal in the first place and don't meet your idols. 9 times out of 11, they will disappoint you. What a bad taste joke to end the video with. Alright guys, I know a lot of my recent videos have been on really sensitive topics, but I want this video in particular to be worth something more than just my opinion. So, to make up for that terrible joke before, I'm going to be donating all of the revenue, like the ad revenue that this video makes, to the Joyful Heart Foundation, a really cool charity that attempts to empower victims through education and advocacy by shifting the way the public views and responds to sexual assault, domestic violence, and child abuse, and reforming and advancing policies and legislation to ensure access to justice for survivors. They have a Heal the Healers program, which is to provide financial support for professionals working directly with survivors. And one of their top priorities is eliminating the rape kit backlog. Since their start, Joyful Heart has identified more than 225,000 untested rape kits sitting in police, crime labs, and other storage facilities across the U.S. And they believe there are several 100,000 more yet to be discovered. They're trying to pass comprehensive rape kit reform legislation in all 50 states, and to be honest, I did not even know that that was a thing, that you could submit a rape kit and it doesn't get reviewed. Fucking insane. If I can make it part of the video, I think there will be a button somewhere where you can donate to if you would like, or if I can't do that, then I'm going to put a link down below in the description. Also, huge thank you to all of the supporters over on Patreon. It's thanks to you guys that I'm able to make videos like this. I'll see you in the next video, which will probably be a little bit more lighthearted. Goodbye.
trying to strike a chord, and it's probably A minor.